Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at Centiskorch. And given that Centiskorch was one of my boys going through Pokémon Sword the first time, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Centiskorch. Is it any good, though? Let's have a little bit of a gander. I should mention at this stage, of course, that our translation does come from the lovely Antoine Boulet, which honestly is a phrase you should be used to hearing, and you should be preparing yourself to stay used to hearing. Cool. So starting off with the basics here, what we've got is 130 HP, which is quite nice. It's a stage 1. There's a lot of Pokemon that do 120. 130 is what we're looking for, so yay. We got a retreat cost of 2, which isn't ideal, but Air Balloon will give free retreat, so it could be worse. And we've got that weakness to water, which honestly is not terrible. People like playing Frostmoth decks, and Frostmoth does have a huge amount of potential. Inteleon V Max has seen a little bit of play, but water's not a bad weakness. Fire, however, is a good type to have. Fire means you are hitting weakness against metal Pokemon like Zacian, and grass Pokemon like Zarude. So that's pretty nice. It means you've got Welder to do a bunch of, energy attachments while drawing cards, which is awesome. And then all things like Giant Half to get your energy from the deck, and Fire Crystal to get your energy from the discard. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it is a really good time to be a fire Pokemon. But what does this actually do? Well, it's got a rather nice ability that should remind you of a stadium card we had not too long ago. It reads, whenever your opponent flips a coin for the special condition burned between turns, that special condition is not removed, even if the result is heads. So if your opponent is burned, they will stay burned. Even if they flip heads on burn, they're not out of it. They will be burned regardless. It's Weller Volcano Park. It is the stadium card Weller Volcano Park, but as an ability. And as a side note, I really love having this as an ability, because one of the issues with Weller Volcano Park was, burn's all well and good, but actually what you really wanted to do a lot of the time here was have your Giant Half out to go and search your energy or things of that nature. So you didn't really want to play Weller Volcano Park, even in decks that relied on burn. Here, you're good to go, because it is just a stage 1 ability. This sits on your bench, and your opponent remains burned for, basically until they get out the active. Which essentially means that any Pokemon that relies or wants to use burn is going to have an absolute field day with this. And there are plenty of Pokemon out there that do burn, but I think there are a few that are a little bit better than others. Now, weirdly, one of my favourites here is actually Talonflame. And I know Talonflame's a stage 2, and that's really upsetting, etc. I understand that has been noted in the official record. But Talonflame has an ability whereby if it's damaged from an attack, then the attacking Pokemon is now burned, and it's got an attack for free energy that does 120 damage and stops your opponent retreating. So here, you can basically trap your opponent in the active while they're burned. You do 120 while stopping them retreat. If they attack you, they get burned and they take the burn damage. It's 2 damage counters after each player's turn, and then you flip. But remember, Centiskorch says you're remaining burned anyway. Ha 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 ha. So they're not able to get out of the active. And then, unless they find some kind of switching card. And they're burned, so they're taking extra damage. And maybe Talonflame's 140 is too low. And maybe the 120 it does is too high. The energy really isn't bad because, of course, you've got Twin Energy. You've got Triple Acceleration Energy. And you've got Welder. So I'm not worried about paying the energy cost on Talonflame. I am worried that 120 is a bit low, 140 is a bit low, and it's a stage 2. But certainly Talonflame's a lot better if your opponent cannot get out of burn, and then they cannot get out the active. This sounds like fun. Or you could replicate Talonflame's ability on any Pokemon you gosh darned well like, using Burning Scarf. Burning Scarf being an item card, a tool card, that does exactly what Talonflame's ability does. That is to say that if the Pokemon it is attached to gets damaged by an attack while it's active, the attacking Pokemon is now burned. So you could still use some kind of attack that is going to trap your opponent in the active. That would work quite nicely. Or you could just muck about with whatever else you want, whatever other Pokemon took your fancy, so to speak. And of course, if we're talking about Pokemon that want to use Burning Scarf, it would seem somewhat silly to not mention the Arcanine from Rebel Clash. Because the Arcanine from Rebel Clash, while you've got a Burning Scarf attached, you've got 230 HP on a stage 1 single prize Pokemon. The free energy attack for 130 is meh, but again, you've got Welder to pay the attack cost, which is easier. But if you've got 230 damage and your opponent is burned and your opponent can't get out of burned, maybe the free energy 130, although an underwhelming attack and no argument to the contrary, might still actually end up being kind of cool and might be good enough and might be something to consider. Cinderace V Max is one that I like quite a lot. Now we've got Counter here. That's a really nice attack whereby if you were damaged by an attack during your opponent's last turn, you do that much damage plus 30. And remember with that one, you can heal up and you still get the extra damage, which is awesome. But then for free energy, and again, anytime you see a free energy fire attack, you need to remember it's just Welder and your attachment for the turn and you're fine. 170 plus burn, bearing in mind you got 320 damage, they're not getting out of the burn, and if they don't get a one-hit KO on you, very hard to do if they're not hitting for weakness, you're going to do that much damage plus 30. Like an Eternatus can hit you for 270, but you'll hit them back for 300, and they're going to be burned, which means you hit for 300, and they took burn damage after their turn, and they'll take burn damage after your turn because they cannot flip out of it. And oh look, that's 340. That sounds like fun to me. Moving away from grass Pokemon, the Butterfree from Rebel Clash weirdly excites me here. For 1 grass energy, 30 damage plus burn, plus poison, plus confusion. But here, they're going to continue to take that burn damage turn after turn. Maybe you use Galamine to make it difficult for them to retreat. Maybe you use Toxicroak so they take more poison damage between turns, as well as not being able to get out of the burn. Plus, of course, they're confused and Galamine's trapping them in the active, and maybe this could end up working. And one of the reasons I like talking about Butterfree here is because we've got the Caterpie and Metapod, which are going to make your life considerably easier here. So we've got the Caterpie from Rebel Clash, which can evolve during your first turn or the turn you play it. And then you've got the Metapod from Rebel Clash that can evolve during your first turn or the turn you play it. So yes, okay, fine, Butterfree is a stage 2, but you can evolve up whenever you like, so it works a lot better. Speaking of multiple special conditions, the Alolan Muck from Cosmic Eclipse, which will, for 2 energy, do 20 damage plus burn, plus confusion, plus poison. So you've got the exact same combination of special conditions there. So you can, again, do the same thing with Galamine and Toxtricity and all of that. But it's a fun one you might want to have a play around with. And although it's a stage 2 and it's flippy, don't forget that the Vileplume from Unbroken Bonds has an ability that works on the bench that on a coin flip can either burn, confuse, asleep, or poison. And that means that you can essentially burn your opponent from the bench, knowing that they can't get out of it. But it's on a stage 2 and it's flippy, so as fun as it looks, I don't think Vileplume is going to work. And I'm sorry about that. This is a really nice ability that can help a bunch of Pokemon. As for the attack, 4 energy, 130 damage plus burn, and the 4th energy ruins this for me. When I'm attacking with fire Pokemon, you'll notice so many of the Pokemon I showed you, Talonflame, Arcanine, Cinderace V Max, I am looking at 3 energy fire Pokemon. Because 3 energy fire Pokemon represents Welder plus 1 extra energy attachment. 4 energy means Welder plus an energy attachment plus another energy, and if your opponent's using Crushing Hammer, that's going to get even more awkward. A free energy attack, I know I can get rolling in 1 turn. Not to mention that 4 energy 130 is not particularly efficient compared to a lot of the other Pokemon here, and you're frankly onto a bit of a loser. I don't like the attack. I don't think the attack is particularly good, but I absolutely do love the ability here, and any deck that relies on or even really wants to use Burn, all of a sudden you have really got to start taking Centiskorch seriously, because this is a great stage 1 ability, and it's probably not going to attack, and that's alright, but I am totally down with it. Not to mention, of course, if you really want to attack, don't let me stop you playing the Centiskorch from Sword and Shield that does all kinds of milling. Love it. I'm going to give this, I want to give it 4 Wassies. Purely for the ability. The attack's not good. And I know that Burn doesn't always see a huge amount of play, and maybe it won't going forward, but this is a really nice ability that I really like, so, I don't know. Tell me I'm an idiot and I like Centiskorch too much in the comment section. Go nuts, but do remember to be nice about it. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.